Number 5. Viewing alien craft test flights. In the world of unexplained phenomena and mysteries that challenge the boundaries of human knowledge, the story of Bob Lazar and his experiences viewing test flights of extraterrestrial spacecraft is a statement that deserves more explanation. Alright, picture this folks. A secluded desert facility, shrouded in secrecy, nestled somewhere near the infamous Area 51. So this is where Bob Lazar claimed to have worked on a project. That would forever alter our understanding of technology and the universe itself. Bob's account begins with his recruitment into a classified government program, the likes of which few could even, wrap their heads around. He asserted that he was tasked with the remarkable mission of unraveling the propulsion systems of spacecrafts not of this Earth. These crafts, he described, were unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. What sets his story apart is his assertion that he didn't merely study these alien machines from afar. No, he claimed to have witnessed these saucers in action, undergoing test flights that push the boundaries of our understanding of physics. Now, I'm not a physics girly, so I can't get technical about this, but these were not just flights. They were demonstrations of technology that seemed to defy the laws of nature as we know them. Imagine being there on that fateful day, peering through the desert haze as the saucer-shaped craft defied gravity. Okay, wicked moment. I had to. Bob has recounted how these vehicles hovered silently and then, in an instant, accelerated to speeds that would have even the fastest fighter jets of this world in the dust. But the most mind-bending part was the way these crafts maneuvered, making right-angle turns without the slightest hint of inertia or g-forces. Bob's descriptions conjure images of technology far beyond our current scientific comprehension. He attributed the astonishing capabilities of these saucers to a substance he referred to as Element 115. According to his accounts, the element had the power to generate a gravitational field, allowing these crafts to bend the very fabric of space and time. The implications of such technology are staggering, I know. It challenges our understanding of propulsion, gravity, and, the fundamental laws of physics, which is probably where my dad would argue with me today. If Bob's accounts are to be believed, which I do, we must consider the possibility that these extraterrestrial crafts represent a level of technological advancement that far surpasses anything humanity has achieved. Number 4. Giving credibility to the Tic Tac video. On November 14th of 2004, Lieutenant Alex Dietrich was piloting her FA-18 Super Hornet when she observed an oblong object hovering over the water. It leapt into motion, skimming 500 to 1,000 feet over the waves at around 500 knots. The fighter jet's onboard radar couldn't detect the object, but Alex's weapons system operator in the rear seat, whose name isn't public, witnessed it as well. She has quoted her recollection as we were trying to call out what we're seeing to each other and to make sure everybody else is seeing it. It's moving so erratically and so fast that our voices, our minds, and our radio calls can't keep up with it. Now, the majority of credible modern-day UFO sightings can't be credited to those that work in the Air Force, as it should be noted that military pilots are trained at what they call, REACE, and referring specifically in this case to the art of recognizing aircrafts by their shapes, paint schemes, unit insignia, and more. One of the other Super Hornets that launched behind Alex was Lieutenant Commander Chad Underwood, who was able to capture the object on an infrared camera. It was about 40 feet long, round and smooth, and quickly received the nickname Tic Tac. Around this time, starting on November 10th to be exact, Gary Voorhees, a petty officer on the USS Princeton guided missile cruiser, had been reporting apparitions on his radar screens in the same area. Now, triple checking his equipment before he made his report, and being the main technician responsible for the equipment, along with having 6 years of Navy experience at the time, he described what he was seeing as impossible. Once again, in just seconds, an object had dropped to the waterline from 60,000 feet, hovered, and then zipped away at high velocity, making right-angle turns that were quoted as being confounding and, defying gravity. The objects returned for the next week, with Voorhees quoted as saying, "I was able to see it on the horizon during the night and during the day. It was definitely a glowing object. Could I tell you for 100% certainty what it was we were tracking? No." Now, footage of this event used to exist, with Gary being able to vividly describe his memories, but has since been completely scrubbed from the internet. I'm just gonna give the government my usual dose of side-eye. Don't mind me. So what does Bob have to do with this? Well, when he was shown the Tic Tac video for the first time, it immediately reminded him of the Sport Mode, which was his name for the craft stashed in the desert. He said it's the exact same propulsion system that I just talked about a moment ago. Pretty wild. Number 3. Carpool to Groom Mountain. The stories about trips to the edge of Groom Mountain offer quite the glimpse into the mysterious world of classified government facilities. From what I've managed to gather, Bob, another government UFO expert by the name of John Lear, and some other folks took frequent trips to the area, recording footage that has since been hidden by the government, so sadly, we don't have access to it today. It's remarkable that Bob and his acquaintances managed to evade security patrols and record a videotape of strange glowing objects ascending from the mountain. For context, Groom Mountain is located over at Area 51, the super secretive government base where most government alien business tends to happen. The area is connected to the internal Nevada test site road network, with paved roads leading south to Mercury and west to Yucca Flat. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. Leading northeast on the lake, the wide and well-maintained Groom Lake Road runs through a pass in the Jumbled Hills. The road formerly led to mines in the Groom Basin, but has since improved sensor closure. Its winding course runs past a security checkpoint, but the restricted area around the base extends way farther east. So John Lear's involvement adds another layer of complexity and validity to all of this. As a former CIA pilot who has spoken openly about his experiences near Groom Lake in 1989, this raises some questions about what he might have witnessed or been privy to. This revelation only adds to the enduring enigma surrounding Area 51 and Bob's claims, making it a captivating addition in the ever-evolving tapestry of conspiracy theories and government secrecy, forever giving them side-eye. Number 2, giving credibility to the gimbal video. If you don't already know, what exactly is the gimbal UFO sighting, and why does it have experts scratching their head and conspiracy theorists, hi there, buzzing with excitement? Let's dive in. So the gimbal UFO sighting took place in 2015, but was not publicly disclosed until December of 2017 when the New York Times broke the story. The video in question that got all the hubbub was recorded by US Navy pilots during a training exercise off of the coast of Florida. What makes the sighting so extraordinary is the way the unidentified flying object moves. So in the video in question, we see a sleek white object with no visible wings or exhaust plumes hovering in the sky, and the most striking aspect is its rotation. If I sound like a broken record, hold on. The object seems to rotate or gimbal effortlessly, maintaining a stable orientation despite its high-speed movement. This level of maneuverability defies the laws of physics as we understand them. Gee, where have I said that before today? When Bob saw the original video, he said it had to be a gravity-propelled craft which mimics the propulsion system that he described. Now, let's unpack some of the key elements that make this sighting so intriguing. First and foremost, the behavior of the object challenges our understanding of aerodynamics and propulsion. It appears to defy the principles of conventional aircraft. Once again, there are no visible means of propulsion, no wings, no visible signs of conventional jet engines. This has led some experts to speculate about advanced propulsion systems or even extraterrestrial technology. Another perplexing aspect is the lack of visible exhaust or heat signatures. Typically, high-speed objects generate significant heat and their engines produce discernible thermal signals. Yet in the gimbal video, there's no such indication. This raises questions about the nature of the technology involved and how it manages to remain undetectable by conventional means. Moreover, the gimbal UFO's ability to rotate without changing its trajectory or speed is particularly confounding. In conventional aircraft, such rapid rotations would create immense gravitational forces, rendering the maneuvers physically impossible for human pilots, which has led some to ponder the possibility of advanced drone technology or, once again, extraterrestrial involvement. One of the most significant revelations regarding the gimbal UFO sighting is that it is just one of several similar incidents encountered by US Navy personnel. These sightings occurred in restricted military airspace, making it highly unlikely that these were civilian or foreign military crafts. The consistency in the behavior of these objects across multiple encounters adds weight to the argument that it is something truly exceptional and unexplainable that is happening in our skies. While the possibility of classified military technology can't be dismissed entirely, the lack of any official confirmation or explanation from the US government only fuels, our truth. This sighting represents one of the most enigmatic and thought-provoking episodes in the history of UFO encounters, and with Bob's credibility, its behavior challenges the limits of our understanding of this entire world. Sure, while we don't have all the exact answers, and it's certain that this incident, along with others like it, continues to spark discussions about the existence of UFOs and aliens, those are mysteries that we may never know, and thanks to Bob, I think they're pretty credible. The gimbal UFO sighting reminds us that the universe is a vast and mysterious place, and there's much we have yet to discover and comprehend. Number 1, bone density scanners. I wanted to make y'all pay attention today, so I saved the most head-scratching information until last. So once again, Bob, a man whose assertions about reverse engineering extraterrestrial spacecrafts at, Area 51 have long raised some eyebrows, but there's been some newfound support in the form of quite the revealing photograph. No, not that kind. Not here. Thanks to filmmaker Jeremy Corbell's tenacity, Bob's narrative has been bolstered, if you will, with tangible evidence. The photograph hails from a classified US government program conducted at Nellis Air Force Range, located very close to, Area 51. What's remarkable though is how closely the depicted hand scanner aligns with Lazar's detailed descriptions. When presented with the photo, Bob was taken aback by the confirmation and reflected, saying, "I never thought I would see one of these again." So what did he see? It was a biometric scanner, he explained, designed to measure the length of hand bones to grant access to the mysterious SF area. There were slits and pins and a light fixture above it, and it scanned your hand to measure the bone length in your hands. Pardon me, I'm suddenly very curious about how the length of my bones confirms that I'm human. Interesting. Were aliens really so tiny that the scanner could tell a difference? Did nobody with dainty little hands work at Area 51? Sure, hand scanners might be a little more common nowadays, but Bob has been talking about all of this for around 30 years now and has never changed his story. His skeptics might need to rethink their positions, as this unexpected piece of evidence casts quite the shadow of credibility over his extraordinary claims. Granted, I doubt most of us needed the additional proof at this point, but let me know if that helps at all. Number 5. Sporty UFO. In the 1989 interview that started these whole leaks, the claims sounded like Hollywood sci-fi. But months later, when his identity was revealed, Bob said that he worked at a secret facility where alien technology was being reverse engineered, meaning, taken apart to figure out how it worked and whether the Pentagon could duplicate it. Hey, the premise seems less absurd now. Bob said that his job was to help with reverse engineering one of the 9 flying saucers, which he alleged were extraterrestrial in origin. He claims one of the flying saucers, the one he coined the Sport model, was manufactured out of a metallic substance similar in appearance and touch to liquid titanium. Bob said the propulsion of the studied vehicle ran on an antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element with atomic number 115, which I'll touch on more later, I promise. In a subsequent interview that November, Bob appeared unmasked and under his own name, where he claimed that his job interview for work at the facility was with contractor EG&G and that his employer was the United States Navy. Bob said the craft he was working on was dismantled, and the reactor he studied was topped by a sphere or semi-sphere which emitted a force field capable of repulsing human flesh. Ugh. He further explained that the craft was split into 2 main levels. So the reactor was positioned at the center of the upper level, with an antenna extending to the top, surrounded by 3 gravity amplifiers. These were connected to gravity emitters on the lower level, which could rotate 180 degrees to output a gravity beam or anti-gravity wave. In 1989, Bob said the seats of the saucer he saw were approximately tiny human-sized, and that he had seen alien cadavers of a corresponding size. He's mentioned that the main craft he worked on would aim its belly to the target and then bring all the amplifiers to power, and then fly off in that direction with the belly or bottom forward. If that description of a spacecraft tilting sounds familiar, I'm assuming you're familiar with the gimbal UFO. So the Pentagon released the video back in 2017, where naval pilots encountered a fleet of the, unknown craft off of the coast of Florida in 2015, and have since had dozens of similar encounters. In the gimbal video, there's a mechanistic turn against the wind without deceleration, which means a craft without rotors, without heat signatures, plums, without tail fins, and certainly no tail number, moving in a way that is counterintuitive to aeronautics. When Bob saw it, he said it had to be a gravity-propelled craft, which mimics the propulsion system that he described. Okay, how about we take a look at another now famous UFO incident, the 2004 Tic Tac encounter. So the Navy pilot who engaged the Tic Tac, Black Aces Commander Dave Fravor, said he doesn't believe the astonishing craft was made on Earth and that the propulsion might be anti-gravity. So when Bob was shown the Tic Tac video for the first time, it immediately reminded him of the sport mode. His craft stashed in the desert? He said it's the exact same propulsion system. Former Pentagon intelligence officer Lou Elizondo was in charge of ATEP, the secret Pentagon study. He told the I-team one goal of the project was to determine the physics of UFOs, how they can achieve the seemingly impossible. The military came to believe that the craft relied on special metamaterials, stuff that can't be made with known technology. Bob made these claims decades ago and was ridiculed, but what do you know? The Pentagon is now on the same page. Number 4, Element 115. So, alien technology, Element 115, and Bob Lazar, a trifecta of intrigue that beckons us into the depths of the unknown. So let's embark on this cosmic journey together. Element 115, also known as Moscovium, sits at the heart of Bob's claims. It is said to be the key to extraterrestrial propulsion systems. So imagine a substance so exotic that it bends the laws of physics as we know them, fueling spacecrafts capable of defying gravity itself. Yes, Wicked fans, that one was for you. This element, if harnessed, could revolutionize our understanding of propulsion and open the door to interstellar travel. By the way, let me know in the comments where you'd go first if you could travel anywhere in the blink of an eye. But Bob doesn't stop there. He asserts that these alien crafts use Element 115 to create gravitational fields. Bob claims that the propulsion of the studied vehicle that he reverse engineered ran on an antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element with atomic number 115, which at the time was provisionally named Unexplained and had not yet been artificially created. This concept might seem like pure science fiction, the idea of bending space-time to move through the cosmos at will, but it's at the core of Bob's narrative, challenging the very fabric fabric of our understanding of physics. But let's dive deeper. Bob claims that element 115 could be a game changer for medicine. By manipulating gravity through this element, surgeons could operate with unparalleled precision, potentially reducing trauma and making recovery a lot faster. The idea of gravity-free surgery might sound like something out of a sci-fi novel, but Bob insists it could be real. Now, onto something that could transform our world. Clean energy! Bob suggests element 115 could be the answer to our energy woes. If it can indeed create stable anti-gravity waves, it might pave the way for an energy revolution. Clean, limitless power, free from the constraints of fossil fuels, is a tantalizing prospect. And finally, le pièce de résistance, element 115 as the linchpin of alien technology. Bob's claims paint a picture of flying saucers powered by this incredible element, vessels that defy our current understanding of engineering and physics. It's the stuff of science fiction dreams, or in my case, reality. Bob's assertions about element 115 and its role in alien technology beckon us to expand our horizons. Whether these claims are rooted in reality or fiction remains a mystery, but they invite us to ponder the boundaries of human knowledge. The cosmos, it seems, still holds secrets that continue to captivate our imagination and drive our quest for understanding. Number 3. Bone density scanners. Alien technology and bone density scanners. Two seemingly unrelated topics, yet they intersect in the fascinating narrative of Bob. So let's unravel this intriguing connection, shall we? So we all know Bob. I've been talking about him all day. You know, reverse engineering crazy stuff. So let's see where advanced extraterrestrial science meets our very bones. Bob asserts that element 115, yeah I know, the substance I mentioned a moment ago, a key player in this narrative, isn't just about propelling UFOs, but has applications much closer to home. In the realm of medical technology, bone density scanners are a crucial tool for assessing bone health. But Bob's story takes this mundane device and infuses it with an otherworldly twist. He suggests that element 115, you know, the same substance at the core of alien propulsion, could be used in these scanners to create gravitational fields. So just imagine stepping into a bone density scanner, and instead of conventional x-rays, you're bathed in a field that gently manipulates gravity. Yes, it's kind of like sci-fi, but Bob insists it could be real. By using the properties of element 15 to create a localized anti-gravity effect, these scanners can provide more accurate and non-invasive assessments of bone density. Okay, so why does this matter? Well, for starters, it could revolutionize healthcare. Accurate bone density measurements are crucial for diagnosing conditions like osteoporosis and for assessing fracture risk. Traditional methods involve exposure to radiation, but an element 115 powered scanner could potentially eliminate that risk entirely. As someone with lifelong bone and tendon injuries, I wish we could have this technology now to be able to more accurately scan the state of so many conditions. Moreover, the technology Bob proposes could lead to a deeper understanding of gravity itself. If we can manipulate gravity on such a small scale, what does that mean for our broader understanding of this fundamental force in the universe? It's a question that transcends bone health and ventures into the very fabric of our reality. Now, I know, skepticism is a crucial component of scientific inquiry, and Bob's claims have faced their fair share of scrutiny. Yes, element 15 isn't exactly a stable element in our periodic table, but that doesn't mean the concept isn't worth exploring. Science often progresses by entertaining unconventional ideas and testing their validity. The story of element 15 and its potential application in bone density scanners reminds us of the profound interconnectedness of scientific concepts. What starts as a tale of alien technology could, in the hands of an imaginative mind, spark innovations that reshape the way we approach healthcare and even our understanding of the universe itself. In the ever-evolving tapestry of human knowledge, it's the unconventional ideas and uncharted territories that often lead to the most profound discoveries. So as we contemplate the implications of element 115 and bone density scanners, we're reminded that the quest for knowledge knows no bounds, and the boundaries of what's possible are constantly expanding. Number 2. Hand scanners. So while Bob's assertions have long raised some eyebrows, he has found some newfound support in the form of a revealing photograph. No, not that kind. Not here. Thanks to filmmaker Jeremy Corbell's determination, Bob's narrative has been bolstered with tangible evidence. So the photograph hails from a classified US government program conducted at Nellis Air Force Range, located in close proximity to, where else, Area 51. But what's remarkable is how closely the depicted hand scanner aligns with Bob's detailed descriptions. So Bob, taken back by the confirmation, reflected that he never thought he would see one of these again. Okay, I know. What was it, Alexa? You jumped ahead. I'm getting to it. It was a biometric scanner, he explained, designed to measure the length of hand bones to grant access to the, illustrious, crazy, mysterious SF area. There were slits and pins in a light fixture above it, and it scanned your hand to measure the bone length in your hands. Sorry, I'm suddenly very curious about how the length of my bones confirms I'm like human and not an alien. Were aliens really so tiny that the scanner could tell a difference? Does this have anything to do with bone density? Did nobody with dainty little hands work at Area 51? Sure, hand scanners might be a little more common nowadays, but Bob has been talking about all of this for around 30 years now, and has never changed his story. Look, skeptics, you might want to rethink your position, since this piece of evidence kinda adds to his credibility. I know, most of us probably didn't need that, but it helps. Number 1. Secret documents. Bob has claimed that during his joining the program, he read briefing documents describing the historical involvement of Earth for the past 10,000 years with extraterrestrial beings described as gray aliens from a planet orbiting the twin binary star system Zeta Reticuli. I feel like I mispronounced that, so I apologize, folks. Your girl's tired today. While this may not be the technology we're looking for in terms of a high-tech sense, low-key tech is still tech, and documents require technology. As of September 2019, no extrasolar planets have been found in that system, according to government experts, but we all know that they can lie to us about that. So for the uninitiated, what the heck is this? So it's a wide binary star system in the southern constellation of the Reticulum. From the southern hemisphere, the pair can be seen with, the regular eye, as a double star in very dark skies. Based upon parallax measurements, this system is located at a distance of about 39.3 light years from Earth. Both stars are solar analogs that have characteristics similar to those of the Sun. They belong to the Zeta Herculis moving group of stars that share a common origin. So you might be asking, okay Alexa, what does this have to do with aliens? Well, does everyone remember Skinny Bob? The video that showed up on YouTube in 2011 showing a collection of leaked videos with an alien being interrogated by some government agency? Okay, so it was like a typical gray type entity shown being interviewed and examined, supposedly as some sort of diplomatic exchange, and he says he's from the Zeta Reticuli star system, sent as part of an envoy to discuss matters of mutual concern. According to the videos, the aliens would be escorted by special officers and only meet with high-ranking officials. Although several aliens are claimed to have been present, the one most prominently featured was, Skinny Bob, the one we all know. He's very thin, slouched over, with an oversized bald head, slit-like mouth, large eyes that seem expressive and blank, and claw-like hands. Apparently there were more interviews between 1942 and 1969, but we've only got a few clips, which is pretty typical. Normally you see Skinny Bob sitting at a table during a telepathic interview, and then we see footage of him from head to toe, showing the overall build. We also see a shot of it within a pool of some sort, where there's liquid where it would supposedly sleep. I'm all for a waterbed. Now, apparently the aliens were often filmed without their consent, which kind of went against all of the documents they signed. The diplomatic exchange of it all matches up with what we know about Area 51 being a place for secret meetings, though. And more.
Alright, we're going to start this little video essay off by talking about Bob Lazar himself. Who is he? What's his history? What's his deal? To some, he's just a conspiracy theorist. To others, he's a highly learned physicist and genuine whistleblower who shared top secret information regarding secretive government operations in Area 51. He got a lot of attention in the late 80s for his claims of having worked on reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology at a secretive government facility near Area 51. Born on January 26, 1959, Lazar's background and education are controversial. It's hard to find genuine documented evidence of his education history. There are discrepancies and unverified credentials with what he's claimed versus what's actually documented and out there. Some argue that a lot of his paperwork was wiped by the government to try and discredit him after going public. Lazar stated that he earned degrees in electronics and physics from the California Institute of Technology and MIT, but there's again a lack of concrete evidence to support these educational claims. Now, we'll get into some of his claims about UFOs and aliens. I'll be going over these more in detail, but just in general, Lazar alleged that he worked at a classified facility called S4, located near Area 51 in Nevada. All kinds of stuff went on there. It supposedly housed aliens, there were alien autopsies, but according to his claims, he was involved in research related specifically to alien spacecraft, which he described as a flying saucer powered by element 115, a substance he claimed could produce anti-gravity effects. In '89, Lazar came out with his story, discussing his experiences, revealing details about his alleged work at S4 and the technology he claimed to have encountered. He's probably best well known for his appearance on Joe Rogan and the documentary Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. His claims have of course been met with skepticism from the scientific community and experts in various fields. Many have pointed out inconsistencies in his story, including the lack of corroborating evidence and the unverified nature of his academic background, but some believe his accounts are genuine, that there's this big government cover-up going on. Others just think he's either out of his mind or a hoaxer, and that's what we're here to explore with you today. So I mentioned element 115. Let's break that down a bit. Now, Lazar claimed that element 115 was the fuel source for the alien spacecraft he was studying. According to him, this element could be used to produce anti-gravity effects, allowing the UFOs to travel vast distances in a way that defies known physics. Now, there is an element 115, but according to scientists, it's much different than what Bob Lazar reported. In the conventional periodic table, element 115 is a synthetic element with the atomic number 115. It was first synthesized in 2003 by Russian and American scientists at the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research in Russia and at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California. The element is highly unstable and has a very short half-life, making it challenging to study it. But Bob Lazar claimed that he had allegedly encountered element 115 years before it was ever discovered. According to his accounts, element 15 served as the fuel for an advanced alien propulsion system. Lazar stated that this element, when bombarded with protons, would generate a gravitational field, allowing the spacecraft to achieve propulsion by bending space-time around it. If this technology is a thing, it would revolutionize space travel as we know it. We could perform faster than light travel and actually start traveling through space. So were his claims genuine and the technology he was working on has just been covered up, or was he just spinning tales? I'll expand with my final thoughts later at the end, but it's hard to say. Next, let's go over S4. Bob Lazar claims that S4 is a secretive government facility near Area 51, a top secret research base where he was hired to work on reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology. He was hired due to his expertise in propulsion systems and his background in physics. Lazar alleged that S4, he worked on alien spacecraft recovered by the US government. According to him, the facility housed several flying saucers of extraterrestrial origin. These crafts were powered by that element 115 we just discussed. One specific alien spacecraft Lazar described was nicknamed the Sport Model. He claimed to have studied the vehicle extensively, focusing on understanding its propulsion system and attempting to reverse engineer its technology for human use. He also detailed all the strict security measures at S4. It was protected by armed guards, there were biometric scanners, and there were extensive background checks for everyone who worked there, which is not surprising. There's heavy security in any government or military facility, so a top secret one housing aliens, this is to be expected. Lazar went public with his claims in the late 80s, revealing his alleged experiences at S4 to investigative journalist George Knapp. This story got a lot of attention, and there were tons of public debates, whether conspiracy theories surrounding government involvement. And there were tons of debates with conspiracy theories surrounding government involvement with extraterrestrial technology. An interesting side note about the whole S4 thing is that there was an archaeologist named Jerry Freeman who kind of snuck his way into Area 51 in 1997, or at least the restricted area surrounding it. He wasn't looking for aliens, mind you. He was actually on a truck to retrace the steps of the famous Lost 49ers. He wrote all these journal entries on his experience avoiding authorities, camping out at night, and trekking throughout the day with limited water and supplies. He didn't mention alien stuff much, but on one day he'd climbed a ridge above NYE Canyon looking down on Papoose Dry Lake, which is just south of Area 51. And that night he saw some lights. One looked like it was coming from a security vehicle, and one was kind of stationary but seemed to grow and shrink in size. It looked kind of like a hangar door opening and closing. So could this have been the S4 facility? Even if it wasn't, it was still a military facility of some kind within Area 51. Who knows what it's used for. And finally, let's touch on the alleged government threats Bob Lazar faced when he started going public with all of this information. I mean, that's the big question that comes to a lot of people's minds whenever big conspiracies like this are revealed, right? If this stuff is so top secret, then how has he gotten away with talking about it? Well, after Bob Lazar went public with his claims, he stated that he faced government threats and harassment. According to Lazar, after disclosing his experiences, he was subjected to intimidation tactics intended to silence him. He also reported incidents of phone tapping and surveillance with mysterious unmarked cars that would follow him around. He also claimed that he received anonymous threatening phone calls warning him to stop discussing his work at the secret facility. He also stated that his house was raided by government agents who confiscated various documents and materials related to his work on extraterrestrial technology. He maintained that these actions were aimed at discrediting him and preventing him from sharing more information about his experience. And that spotty educational history too that I mentioned. Lazar claims his records were tampered with by government officials also to discredit him. The only thing the government hasn't done is actually force him to shut up, which a lot of people point at as the number one sign that everything he's talking about is just total nonsense. The government must just not care about what he's talking about at all. And in fact, it could be a great distraction from other nefarious practices going on that they actually want to keep secret. And this is very plausible. It's also very plausible, though, that the government figures, you know what, who cares if he's talking? Most folks probably won't believe him. And the ones that do have no way of proving the claims to the public, so may as well let this top secret info hide in plain sight in a way, right? The whole subject is just a total rabbit hole. It never ends. And for the sake of preserving my own sanity, I'm just gonna close things out with my final thoughts here. So just summing up my thoughts on Bob Lazar and alien life in general. In the case of Bob Lazar, it's difficult to come to any solid conclusion because his claims are kind of unfalsifiable to the general public. Only those who actually work in Area 51 know the absolute truth. To us on the outside, though, it's like, yeah, maybe he's lying, but how can you really definitively prove that he is? Sure, there's the discrepancies with his educational background, but according to him, again, that stuff was tampered with in an attempt to discredit him to the public, which would make sense. If I was a government official who wanted to deal with a whistleblower, discrediting them and making them look foolish and untrustworthy would probably be a much better option than making them disappear, for example, which would only raise more questions and make people more suspicious. But then again, maybe he really is just lying about his education. As for the alien claims, it's hearsay. Maybe he saw something, maybe he didn't. We can't see it with our own eyes, so until we actually know what goes on in Area 51, as if we ever will, the possibility of there being aliens is just that, a possibility. But what about the likelihood of aliens in regards to Area 51, or just the presence of alien life in general? Well, it's become very cliched to say this, but it is very likely that there is some form of alien life out there. Space is far too vast for there not to be, so let's just get that part out of the way first. The question is really whether aliens have interacted with us here on Earth yet or not. All I can say here is that I've never seen anything myself. I've heard stories. Lots of stories of people's first-hand accounts. I've even heard a couple stories from people I know directly, like personally, who said they've seen some suspicious things hovering in the sky that they couldn't explain at the time. I'm not sure where I stand on it myself, but I can say it's not that far-fetched to me. The idea that there could be aliens and their technology, being studied in a government facility in the middle of Nevada is far more believable to me than any ghost story.
Number 5, build a UFO. In the 1989 interview that started these leaks, the claim sounded like Hollywood sci-fi. Months later, though, when his identity was revealed, Bob said he worked at a secret facility that I'll talk more about later, where alien technology was being reverse engineered, meaning, taken apart to figure out how it worked and whether the Pentagon could duplicate it. Look, the premise seems a lot less absurd now. Bob said that his job was to help with the reverse engineering of one of 9 flying saucers, which he alleged were extraterrestrial in origin. He claims that one of the flying saucers, the one he coined the Sport model, was manufactured out of a metallic substance similar in appearance and touch to liquid titanium. Bob said that the propulsion of the studied vehicle ran on an antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element with atomic number 115, which, once again, I'll touch on later, I promise. In a subsequent interview that November, Bob appeared unmasked and under his own name, where he claimed that his job interview for work at the facility was with contractor EG&G and that his employer was the United States Navy. Bob said the craft he was working on was dismantled, and the reactor he studied was topped by a sphere or semi-sphere which emitted a force field capable of repulsing human flesh. He further explains that the craft was split into two main levels. So the reactor was positioned at the center of the upper level, with an antenna extending to the top, surrounded by 3 gravity amplifiers. These were connected to gravity emitters on the lower level, which can rotate 180 degrees to output a gravity beam or anti-gravity wave. In 1989, Bob said the seeds of the saucer he saw were approximately tiny human-sized, and that he had seen alien cadavers of a corresponding size. He's mentioned that the main craft he worked on would aim its belly to the target, and then bring all of the amplifiers to power and fly off in that direction, with the belly or bottom forward. If that description of a spacecraft tilting sounds familiar, I'm assuming you're familiar with the gimbal UFO? So the Pentagon released the video back in 2017, where naval pilots encountered a fleet of the unknown craft off of the coast of Florida in 2015, and have since had dozens of similar encounters. So in that specific video, there's a mechanistic turn against the wind without deceleration, which means a craft without rotors, heat signatures, tail fins, and no tail number, and it was moving in a way that is counterintuitive to aeronautics. So when Bob saw that video, he said it had to be a gravity-propelled craft, which mimics the propulsion system that he described. So okay, if you don't believe me on that one, how about we look at another now famous UFO incident, the 2004 Tic Tac encounter. I've talked about this many times. So the Navy pilot who engaged the Tic Tac, Black Aces commander Dave Fravor, says he doesn't believe the astonishing craft was made on Earth and that the propulsion might be anti-gravity. So when Bob was shown the Tic Tac video for the first time, it immediately reminded him of the sport mode, which, like I said, that was his name for the craft stashed in the desert. And he says it's the exact same propulsion system. Former Pentagon intelligence officer Lou Elizondo was in charge of ATIP, the secret Pentagon study. He told the I-Team one goal of the project was to determine the physics of UFOs, how they can achieve the seemingly impossible. The military came to believe that the craft relied on special metamaterials, stuff that can't be made with known technology. And hey, Bob made similar claims decades ago and was ridiculed. So what do you know? Now the Pentagon's on the same page all of a sudden. Number 4, what is Area 51? So sure, today everybody knows that Area 51 is the common name of a highly classified United States Air Force facility within the Nevada Test and Training Range. As a remote detachment administered by Edwards Air Force Base, the facility is officially called Homey Airport or Groom Lake, depending on who you ask. Okay, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Don't tell me. I'm sure it'll come to me eventually. Oh, I got it. It's home to all things unknown, and lots of alien and UFO believers, such as myself, are pretty sure that that's where all the flying discs and more tend to be housed. It's commonly thought to support the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapons systems. Now, it has never been declared a secret base, but all research and occurrences in Area 51 are top secret or sensitive compartmented information. So make of that what you will. The CIA only publicly acknowledged the base's existence on June 25th of 2013, following a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005 and declassified documents detailing its history and purpose. So, how does Bob play into all this? Well, we're gonna go back to 1989 when he appeared in that interview with investigative reporter George Knapp on Las Vegas TV station Kloss under the pseudonym Dennis and with his face hidden to discuss his employment at S4, a subsidiary facility he claimed exists near the Nellis Air Force Base installation known as Area 51. And once again, this was back in 1989, before Area 51 was the common knowledge it is today. He claimed that said facility was adjacent to Papoose Lake, which is located south of the main Area 51 facility at Groom Lake. He claimed the site consisted of concealed aircraft hangars built into a mountainside. He said that while walking down a hallway at S4 once, he briefly glanced through a door window and saw what he interpreted as 2 men in lab coats facing down and talking to something with long arms. Now, he doesn't think he saw an actual alien, but speculated that he saw a doll used as a reference for the size of the alleged aliens. So everything I'm discussing today about Bob probably took place at that mysterious place out in the desert. Area 51 is also believed to house material recovered at Roswell, the study of their occupants, and the manufacturing of aircraft based on alien technology. And also might be a place to host meetings or joint undertakings with extraterrestrials. It tends to be where the development of exotic energy weapons for the Strategic Defense Initiative or other weapons programs happens, possibly where they're working on projects to do with weather control, time travel and teleportation technology, and exotic propulsion systems related to the Aurora program. So many of these tend to do with, underground facilities at Groom or Papoose Lake. So, the S4 location first talked about by Bob, which is 8.5 miles south and includes claims of a transcontinental underground railroad system and a disappearing airstrip named the Cheshire Airstrip, after Lewis Carroll's Cheshire Cat, which briefly appears when water is sprayed onto its camouflaged asphalt and engineering based on alien technology. Number 3, contact with Zeta Reticuli. So Bob has claimed that during his, joining the program, he read briefing documents describing the historical involvement of Earth for the past 10,000 years with extraterrestrial beings described as gray aliens from a planet orbiting the twin binary system Zeta Reticuli. As of September 2019, no extrasolar planets have been found in the system, according to government experts, but we all know that they can lie to us about that. So for the uninitiated, what the heck is Zeta Reticuli? So this is a wide binary star system in the southern constellation of Reticulum. From the southern hemisphere, the pair can be seen with the regular eye as a double star in very dark skies. Based on parallax measurements, this system is located at a distance of about 39.3 light years from Earth. Both stars are solar analogs that have characteristics similar to those of the Sun. They belong to the Zeta Herculis moving group of stars that share a common origin. So you might be asking, okay Alexa, what does this have to do with aliens? So does anybody remember Skinny Bob? If not, I'll refresh your memory. So a very curious video showed up on YouTube in 2011, showing a collection of leaked videos where you can see an alien being interrogated by some sort of government agency of sorts. It's a typical gray type entity shown being interviewed and examined, supposedly as part of some sort of diplomatic exchange, and here's the moment you've been waiting for. He says he's from the Zeta Reticuli star system, sent as part of an envoy to discuss matters of mutual concern. According to the videos, the aliens would be escorted by special officers and only meet with high-ranking officials. Although several aliens are claimed to have been present, the one most prominently featured was given the nickname Skinny Bob. The alien appears as a very thin, slouched-over figure with an oversized bald head, slit-like mouth, large eyes that seem expressive and blink, and claw-like hands. Now, there was apparently a whole series of interviews conducted with the creature between 1942 and 69, although only a few clips have managed to get leaked out. The most well-known clip simply shows Skinny Bob sitting at a table, apparently in a telepathic interview, after which we see footage of the alien from head to toe, showing its disproportionately long arms and overall build. After that, there is a shot of it within a pool of some sort of liquid where it was supposedly asleep. Now, according to the videos, the aliens were often filmed without their knowledge or agreement, with document 072-E supposedly describing an incident in 1961 where 3 of the beings realized they were being secretly filmed by a hidden device, which was considered a violation of their agreement. There was a treaty that stipulated that photographs and filming of the entities would not be allowed unless specific permission was given. The diplomatic exchange of it all matches up with what we know about Area 51 being a place for secret meetings and more. Number 2, Men in Black are erasing history. So yeah, it's no secret the government has the power to erase or cover up whatever they want. And what they've done to Bob in an attempt to discredit him is a very clear example of that control. So Bob is adamant that his employment and education records have been erased and modified. So remember how I mentioned that he's a physicist? So Bob claims to have obtained master's degrees in physics from MIT and in electronics from Caltech, but mysteriously, both universities show no record of him. Now, I get one institution losing records can be explained, as like a clerical error, but both losing records are a little suspicious. Earlier, I also mentioned how Bob claimed that his job interview for work at the facility was with contractor EG&G, and that his employer was the United States Navy, right? Well, EG&G stated it had no records on him, and his employment at a Nellis Air Force Base subsidiary has also been discredited by skeptics, as well as the United States Air Force. Once again, discredited or simply just erased by the government. Bob claims to have worked as a physicist during his tenure at the Los Alamos Meson Physics facility, but an inquiry into his position revealed his role to have been a technician for a contractor firm, and that he worked neither as a physicist or for Los Alamos. Not to sound like a broken record, but it's clearly the Men in Black at work here, and skeptics just need to understand that. Number 1, Element 115. Alrighty, the moment we've all been waiting for. What the heck is Element 115 and what does it do? So Bob has claimed that the propulsion of the studied vehicle that he reverse engineered ran on an antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element with atomic number 115, which at the time was provisionally named unempentium and had not yet been artificially created. It was first synthesized in 2003 and later named moscovium. He said that the propulsion system relied on a stable isotope of E115, which allegedly generates a gravity wave that allowed the vehicle to fly and to evade visual detection by bending light around it. Now, no stable isotopes of moscovium have yet been synthesized. All have proven extremely radioactive, decaying in a few hundred milliseconds. In 2017, Bob's workplace was raided by the FBI and local police, which he theorizes was to recover element 115, a substance he said he kind of kept from the government lab. I don't blame him.
Number 5, Avi Loeb. Harvard professor Avi Loeb and his team have undertaken a fascinating quest involving the potential discovery of alien technology fragments. Their journey takes us all the way back to 2014, when a meteor landed in the waters of Papua New Guinea. The pieces they collected from this mysterious visitor have raised intriguing questions. The US Space Command released a statement saying that there is a 99.999% certainty that these materials originated from another solar system. This revelation prompted a thorough investigation, with the government providing a 10-kilometer radius for the likely landing zone. Their calculations yielded a potential path for the meteor that remarkably aligned with the government's projected landing zone. They set sail, traversing the meteor's projected trajectory. An innovative approach involved combing the ocean floor using a sled with magnets attached. Their findings were nothing short of astonishing. They unearthed 10 nearly perfect spheres resembling metallic marbles. Under the microscope, these objects displayed a captivating array of colors: gold, blue, brown, and some even bearing a resemblance to miniature Earths. The composition analysis revealed that these minuscule spheres were mostly composed of iron with traces of silicon, magnesium, and titanium. What sets these findings apart from any other space rocks cataloged by NASA is their high material strength. The meteor was calculated to have moved at an astounding 60 kilometers per second, faster than almost all of the stars in the vicinity of our sun. The combination of material strength and speed has led Avi Loeb to entertain the possibility that these fragments might be remnants of a spacecraft from another civilization or from some unknown advanced technology. The research into these objects is still in its early stages, and the team aims to discover whether these objects are of artificial or natural origin. If they are natural, it would provide insight into the materials that exist beyond our solar system. If they're artificial, the theories and possibilities are staggering, as the objects would be hinting at the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors from planets far beyond what we know. Many believe that these spheres are just the beginning of discovery and may eventually guide scientists to a more substantial find. The spheres are crucial in helping locate and understand any significant remnants of the meteor, which could offer further answers surrounding its origin. Whatever answers are found will inevitably lead to an incredible new sense of understanding of what is past our known universe, whether it's found to be a rock or a strange technological artifact. Number 4. The Voynich Manuscript. Often dubbed as the world's most mysterious book, the Voynich Manuscript has baffled scholars, cryptographers, and supernatural enthusiasts for centuries. This 15th century book is filled with peculiar, undecipherable texts alongside intricate illustrations of unknown plants, strange creatures, and unidentifiable symbols. A wide range of theories have emerged in an attempt to decode its origin and purpose. One of the leading theories believes that the manuscript is a hoax, created to deceive anyone who finds it. The intricate, unique script has led some to believe it's an elaborate cipher, but despite extensive efforts from many people and linguistic experts, no one has been able to crack it. The drawings of unfamiliar plants have led some to think that it might be a botanical or medical text, containing knowledge for herbal remedies or alchemical recipes. Other theories suggest that the Voynich manuscript could be part of a genuine but now lost language. Some researchers believe it may have been written in a natural language and then encoded for secrecy. This idea is supported by the manuscript's linguistic characteristics, which appear consistent with language patterns. However, without a key to decipher the text, this remains speculative. There's also the theory, my favorite theory by the way, that believes the book belonged to extraterrestrial beings who spoke a completely unknown language, and the drawings and recipe depictions represent objects and wildlife that humans have never experienced. Why did the aliens leave this book with us? I'm not sure, but if this book teaches us anything, it's that we certainly do not understand aliens in the slightest, so we definitely wouldn't be able to assume their motive and reasoning. If the book is of alien origin, it would contain mounds of insight for what alien planets or languages look like. Number 3. The Antikythera mechanism. This mechanism is an ancient find that is thought to be the world's first analog computer. It was discovered in a shipwreck near the coast of Antikythera in 1901. The device's complexity and potential purpose have birthed several wild theories about its origin and function. One theory is that the mechanism was an astronomical calculator or some kind of ancient mechanical model of the stars in space. This theory is based on the numerous gears and dials within the device, which would have allowed it to track the positions of celestial bodies, including the sun and the moon. This would have been a valuable tool for ancient astronomers and philosophers in understanding the movements of our solar system. Others suggest it might have served as a navigational instrument, helping sailors determine their position at sea by predicting celestial events, suggesting that the complex nature of the mechanism could have been used to determine critical dates and times, assisting in navigation efforts and predicting astronomical events like eclipses. It has also been proposed that the mechanism was employed as an orrery, a device that demonstrates the motions of celestial bodies, or even as an educational tool, aiding in the teaching of astronomy and complex scientific concepts in ancient Greece. The device's exact purpose and the extent of its capabilities are still topics of passionate debate. The fact that it was created more than 2,000 years ago is a testament to the advanced knowledge and engineering skills of the ancient Greeks, or to the knowledge of an otherworldly being. While many questions about the mechanism remain unanswered, it continues to be a symbol of fascination, still inspiring research and exploration into its true nature and purpose. Number 2. The crystal skulls. The crystal skulls are a set of strange artifacts that have fascinated both archaeologists and conspiracy theorists for so many years. These crystal skulls are precisely what they sound like: human skull-shaped carvings made from various types of quartz crystal. Most of them date back to pre-Columbian South American civilizations, specifically the Aztec, Mixtec, and Maya. The theory surrounding these skulls is what continues to make them so popular and intriguing, and let me tell you, there are a lot of theories. Some people believe that the skulls are ancient relics with supernatural or extraterrestrial origins, while others think they possess mystical or healing powers. One popular theory is that the crystal skulls were created by advanced ancient civilizations that possessed knowledge far beyond what we currently assume and understand. Some parts of this theory suggests that these crystals hold the secrets of lost technologies and predictions about future events. Then, of course, there's the theory that suggests the skulls are linked to extraterrestrial beings. This theory further assumes that these artifacts were gifts or messages from ancient alien visitors to Earth, gifted with the intention to guide or enlighten the less advanced beings they had stumbled across. Humans. Skeptics, however, assume that these crystal skulls are simply modern creations, likely made during the late 1800s or the early 1900s, and then were falsely aged so they would appear as ancient artifacts. Some well-documented forgeries and the absence of archaeological... Oh my god, not this word again. And the absence of context from many of these skulls do add a lot of substance to skeptics' beliefs. Despite this, the mystery surrounding the crystal skulls continue to capture the imaginations of curious minds and fuel a lot of debates about their origins, purpose, and theorized mystical properties. Whether they're being viewed as ancient relics, products of elaborate hoaxes, or otherworldly symbols, the crystal skulls have become a fascinating and intriguing find for the world of archaeology. Number 1. The Baghdad Battery. The Baghdad Battery is a strange historical puzzle that has raised questions about the technological capabilities of ancient civilizations. The battery was discovered near Baghdad, Iraq, and dates back to around 2,000 years ago, consisting of a clay jar, a copper tube, and an iron rod. What makes this find so confusing and perplexing is the fact that it dates back around 2,000 years, yet it resembles something extremely modern: a battery. However, before we get too carried away with visions of ancient Mesopotamians charging their smartphones, it's important to note that the true purpose of the battery remains unknown and highly debated. The basic concept is that it could generate a small electric current if filled with an acidic solution. Some researchers believe it may have had a more mundane purpose, like electroplating, which is a technique that's used in modern days to apply a thin layer of metal to objects. Others believe that it was an early form of medical treatment, possibly for pain relief, but there's no evidence that definitively confirms that the battery was created for this, and it isn't linked to any significant electrical advancements in ancient times, which, we would probably notice. But then that begs the question, is it even human? If it was truly human, why wasn't the technology spread throughout the world? Every technological advancement made throughout history was quickly spread through thousands of communities. A battery would not have just been disregarded. Even if it was mistaken or called a form of magic, people would still uncover it. It would have still been spread. So that leads me to think this was not a human creation. Otherworldly civilizations could be thousands of years ahead of us in advancements. If this battery was from them, honestly, it would kind of make a lot more sense than it being a battery used by humans.
Number 5, an Air Force landing cover-up. So, Quinn Nelson, who wants his location to stay private out of fear for his safety, knew a girl whose dad was stationed at an Air Force base in his state. At the time, there were 2 Air Force bases and 1 Marine Air Station, so he feels pretty comfortable making the story known with those details. Quinn says he went to go see the girl and stay with her family over a weekend, arriving on the Friday, just in time for family dinner. He and the girl decided to walk over to the base movie theater to enjoy some private time, and afterwards were walking back to the family's quarters in the company of many Air Force fellow, tweens and families who also saw the movie. He said that as they were walking, Air Force Air Police personnel began driving down the base housing streets, ordering the theater goers to the nearest base housing residence. A siren or tone was wailing from somewhere, along with a code being repeated that Quinn refuses to name for, safety. The crowd didn't put up any kind of resistance and began moving where they were directed as if this was a normal occurrence, something Quinn observed as being weird to him, but he wasn't going to be the only one putting up a fuss. When the group he was walking with arrived at a house, his girlfriend, without knocking, just pushed the door open and they all walked in. Quinn said the members of the household were pulling the window drapes closed, setting out folding chairs, offering water, acting like this was like a planned gathering instead of a random occurrence in panic. About an hour or so later, the air police again went up and down the streets giving the all clear, and somewhere the same siren or tone was sounding. Later that night, his girlfriend's family told him he must never tell anyone about what had happened on the base, saying that this was an occurrence that would happen when UFOs would land on base property or nearby, something that was apparently very common on Air Force bases. Anyone want to let me know in the comments section if that's true? Because consider me intrigued. Number 4, a gray alien abduction. Grant Rollins, a resident of suburban Maryland, describes himself as a fairly normal bachelor, living in peace until this all went down in December of 2017. He woke up at 1:30 in the morning to the sound of a break-in and went to the bedroom door to confront the intruder, but was suddenly rendered unconscious as he touched the doorknob. He woke up naked and cold in a pill-shaped glass container. The lid was opened, so he was able to stumble out onto the floor around the container, and described feeling sluggish and barely able to walk. But he thought he'd been kidnapped, so he was urgently trying to find an escape route. The room he was in was made of mostly concrete and was plastic with fluorescent lights. He managed to limp into a hallway that was tunnel-shaped and followed a blue glow coming from down the hall. As he walked, he came out of the tunnel and entered a large cylindrical room lined with vehicles on hooks along the walls. They were human vehicles, so mostly Japanese and German cars and motorcycles, but some vehicles were clearly from the American military. In the center of the room was what looked like a metal tree that was 6 stories tall with glowing blue leaves. Now, as Grant stumbled closer, he realized the tree was actually a large metal cylinder, and the leaves were capsules similar to the one he'd woken up in, except these still had people inside them and were radiating a neon blue glow. As he paid more attention to higher up in this tree, Grant noticed some blue wires moving around in the dark area towards the ceiling. These clumps of wires suddenly floated down towards him and turned to reveal that they had faces in them, each with 2 large dark eyes and narrow slits for noses and mouths. He's compared them in appearance to the typical gray alien face from popular media, with 2 of the faces frowning and 1 smiling. Grant passed out once again, waking up later face down in a puddle of his own drool on a glass floor. He was too tired to get up and barely able to tilt his head up just enough to take a look around. The room was circular, about 150 square feet in size, and a bright, sterile white color. One of the tentacled creatures was in the room, but was busy facing away and operating a set of strange controls with no buttons or levers. Out of exhaustion, Grant's head fell back down, and through the glass floor saw that they had risen out of a deep black hole that was dug into a grassy plain where a rock-shaped lid closed around the hole to cover it. This is when he realized he was in a spacecraft and had actually been in a silo of some sort that's here on Earth somewhere. Grant passed out for the last time and was awoken by the sensation of being dropped back head first onto his bed with a hard thud. He checked his phone for the time and saw that it was around 6:30 in the morning. Later that day, he found an object that had been inserted and cauterized into his right leg and experienced a run-in with some men in black suits within 4 days of the abduction. Grant claims that he never believed in abductions, UFOs, men in black, anything out of the ordinary before that day, but now he doesn't have a choice in the matter and is annoyed that there's no official place to get legitimate information or help on the subject. I'm hoping that after talking about this, I don't see any men in black on my way home today. Number 3, the Voronezhsky abduction. So 34-year-old Vlad Vladimir Voronezky and his wife, 29-year-old Olga, were at home with their very young son Arthur and their daughters Vanessa and Angelica one night. Olga had asked the daughters to run an errand, and while returning home, both saw an unusual object in the sky, rushed home, and told their family that they had seen a flying star. When the adults went outside, they saw a distant hovering object in the sky that seemed to move and change shapes. Olga managed to take a photo of the object with her cell phone, but the photo only shows a yellow spot or elongated strip with a black background. The family went back inside, had supper, and went to bed. And while I would love to end this here, y'all know better about how this is about to go. At around 2 a.m., Vladimir suddenly awoke and saw that the whole room was lit by a whitish violet light, and tried to wake Olga, but she refused to wake up, so he went back to sleep. The bright lights woke up their youngest daughter Angelica, who ran to wake her mother, so Olga eventually did wake up, saw what the other two had seen, and then woke Vladimir back up. He was amazed to see that the ceiling of the room had apparently disappeared, or become totally transparent. Now, right above them, instead of the ceiling, they could see the open sky and a huge disc-shaped craft hovering right above. Vladimir and Olga ran outside their home, still in their PJs, and could see a hovering disc-shaped UFO emitting the strong lights about 100 feet away. Olga began floating, zooming upwards in a spiral motion, and when Vladimir tried grabbing her legs, he discovered he couldn't control his body. Olga described feeling nauseous, unable to control her body as well. In a state of shock, the couple found themselves teleported inside a room with transparent walls and no furniture. Moments later, the duo witnessed 12 entities enter. The humanoids were short, around 4 feet tall, having 3 fingers on each hand and large heads with smooth gray skin. Now, Vladimir didn't notice any mouths, noses, or ears on them, but noticed their large, black, pupilless eyes. The entities had no visible legs and were moving around like caterpillars. They wore a completely sealed, tight-fitting coverall with masks and hoods that covered their bodies. Only one of the aliens was taller than the rest, easily over 6 feet tall, and stood behind the other small humanoids, with his face not being visible under his outfit. The short entities approached Olga first, placing her in a deep armchair which resembled a gynecologist chair, prompting Vladimir, who was now unfrozen, to attempt to rush towards her, but he ran into an invisible wall or force field. 2 of the aliens approached him now, and he asked, what's going on? And they assured him telepathically that soon you will be back home. Oh yeah, nothing to be afraid of. Vladimir became rightfully angry and attempted to push the aliens away, but was thwarted by more entities grabbing him in an attempt to restrain him. The aliens asked him why he resisted, staring straight into his eyes each time they communicated, telepathically, before inserting 4 metallic rods into his chest area, paralyzing him completely. From that moment on, he was unable to move, and could only stand there helplessly and watch the aliens experiment on Olga. Somehow they were able to cut into her stomach without her noticing, or using any kind of known surgical instruments. She sensed the smell of her inner organs, feeling unpleasant, but no pain, only tranquility and relaxation. And modern human medicine could apparently stand to learn a thing or two. The aliens seemed to be taking samples from her body and organs, and were apparently now using different instruments to study the organs inside her abdomen. Olga was only able to describe that one looked like a pair of pincers and had 3 clamps. After the strange procedures, the aliens closed and sewed up her stomach. Before the abduction, Olga had been bothered by stomach pains, but after that day, she never suffered from them again. Apparently, the aliens were more interested in communicating with Vladimir, explaining to him that the female is the entity in a stage less developed than the male entity, which I'll beg to differ. The smaller humanoids respectively called the taller humanoid by a word that Vladimir has loosely translated as the professor, who explained to Vladimir that their society was like a huge ant colony. After Vladimir was brought in front of the professor, he asked the entity why they had taken him and his wife, with the taller being answering that it had to be done. Both witnesses understood that having such feelings was, the central interest of the aliens. The tall alien said, we don't understand you. Why haven't you, intelligent animals, destroyed yourselves yet? How can you survive with your emotions? He said that there was a space war going on at that time in the universe, and that the entity that we call God has implanted much information into Earth and the waters of it. Those who are against God, want that information destroyed. If the Earth is going to be destroyed, the Son of God would arrive to Earth again and will restore everything living it. Well, I think I've heard that story before. Through the transparent surface of the cabin, the duo could see the planet Earth approaching and felt that their spacecraft was slowing down. The couple was returned then back to Earth the very same way they were abducted. First in the smaller module, and then the large disc-shaped craft, and then through the roof of their home inside a beam of light. At 11 a.m. the next morning, Vladimir and his wife awoke, and a while passed before they talked about what had occurred. But after analyzing the mutual identical memories, they understood that what had happened had not been a dream but reality. The whole family underwent extensive medical tests to see if the aliens had left behind any implants and to try and find any traces of surgery. By some mysterious manner, Vladimir lost his gray hairs, and his physical powers of endurance increased after the abduction. Olga was cured of her chronic colitis and gained the ability to make a drunken man sober by placing the palm of her hand on the man's forehead for 2 to 3 minutes. It's a neat Indeed, a pretty neat ability, but I'm not sure I want to undergo testing for it. Number 2. Lizard beings from Colorado. Back in 1968, Hannah and her family were living in a small town in the west end of Montrose County called Uravan, Colorado. One early summer morning, she was awakened by the barking of the family dog named Tippy outside her bedroom window, which was unusual for the pup, who usually only barked when someone or something was in a yard that wasn't supposed to be. Hannah remembers waking up out of a deep sleep and hearing Tippy constantly barking and wondering why her older brother, who slept in the bunk above her, and her parents sleeping in the bedroom on the other side of the wall, weren't telling Tippy to, quit it. So finally, Hannah was fed up and decided to turn over in bed and look out the window, and was met with a sight she didn't believe at first. There it was, a small circular ship with its landing gear down and a hatch with stairs folded down to the ground. Next to the ship were green lizard-like beings with bright yellow eyes, webbed hands that resembled a bow and arrow, and had some sort of tanks on their back. They had thin bodies, were covered in scales, and had V-shaped toes. According to Hannah, the overall mood was that these beings were searching for something, but she had no guesses as to what. Another alien exited the ship, but it was much larger in size than the others and seemed to be giving out orders. This caused Tippy to begin barking aggressively again, upsetting the aliens who began to approach the dog. Hannah instinctively jumped off her bed and rushed into her parents' room in an attempt to wake her mom, but struggled. Her mom slept as if something was wrong, and when she finally awoke was incredibly sluggish in movement. Hannah explained what was going on outdoors and her concern for Tippy, but the mom was unable to see the creatures and wanted to just go back to sleep. Hannah's mom eventually also told her to, sleep away from the window. And before she fell back asleep, she remembered seeing 2 of the lizard beings looking in her room through the window and no longer hearing any noise from Tippy. When morning came, Hannah rushed outdoors in her PJs to, check on her beloved pet, and Tippy was waiting like nothing had happened. The occurrence was never discussed between Hannah and her mom again until shortly before her mom's passing in 2016, when she asked Hannah if she remembered seeing the lizard people and their ship in their yard in Colorado. Creepy. Number 1. 7 donuts in the sky. On May 19th of 1952, an aircraft flying an RB-36 aircraft reported spotting a series of several donut shapes appearing in the sky, and were able to take photographs to accompany their incident report, which can be found in National Archives. The crew of 22 reported flying just south of Sonora when they originally spotted the phenomenon, stating that the plane was headed on a 301-degree heading at 18,000 feet, which with relatively calm winds for that altitude. At 8:05 p.m., the objects appeared just to the left of the plane's nose at a range estimated by the crew to be 80 to 120 kilometers ahead. The objects were stacked vertically from approximately 25 to 60,000 feet, and even with all the photographs and drawings, there is still no definite answer as to what was spotted.
Number 5. Alien Task Force. In July of 2022, a government-aligned UAP organization was created, the AARO, or the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, directed by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. It's the government lead for all UAP-related anomalies. The purpose of ARO is summarized in their mission and vision statements, which say their goals are to minimize technical and intelligence surprise by synchronizing scientific, intelligence, and operational detection, identification, attribution, and mitigation of unidentified anomalous phenomena in the vicinity of national security areas. Vision statement is, unidentified anomalous phenomena are effectively and efficiently detected, tracked, analyzed, and managed by way of normalized DoD, intelligence community, and civil business practices, by adherence to the highest scientific and intelligence tradecraft standards, and with the greatest transparency and shared awareness. A lot. ARO reviews reports of UAPs and has received hundreds of reports. Dr. Kirkpatrick estimates that they receive 50 to 100 reports each month. They investigate each and every video and report using their scientific resources. The RO reports to Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks. It is the first government office to be tasked with synchronizing efforts across the DoD and the interagency to collect, report, and analyze UAPs. They are taking a collaborative, objective, data-driven approach to their mission. The RO has a website that anyone can visit to check out all of this information for themselves. There are countless videos of UAP sightings posted to the government-backed website. They are also working on a government personnel sighting report program for current and former government employees who may have knowledge of UAPs. RO replaced the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, UAPT, which only ran from 2019 to 2021. I personally think that the RO is pretty cool. I mean, oftentimes alien conspiracists are shamed for not believing in science, but having an accomplished physicist show so much passion and determination for getting answers reminds us all what science is really about. It's about understanding the worlds around us, asking questions, making theories, and of course, staying curious. Number 4, government-owned UAPs. In July of 2023, 3 former military officials entered a Congress hearing and shook the minds of hundreds of people. David Grush told the panel that he was absolutely certain the government was in possession of UAPs. David Grush is a decorated Afghanistan soldier and a former Air Force intelligence officer who worked at the NGA, which is the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and at the NRO, which is the National Reconnaissance Office. From 2019 to 2021, he was the NRO representative of the UAPT. Remember, the organization that came before RO? A lot of letters. David was the co-lead for UAP analysis for the NGA. He assisted in drafting the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023, which includes provisions for the reporting of UFOs, including whistleblower protections and exemptions to non-disclosure orders and agreements. So clearly, he's a pretty accomplished man, and a man who is extremely knowledgeable of the events and conversations that are taking place in government settings, especially surrounding UAPs and Inhumans. David claimed that he was informed multi-decade Pentagon program that sought to locate, collect, and reconstruct UAPs. He interviewed over 40 people in 4 years and has come to the conclusion that the government is currently in possession of UAP. He said he actually knew the exact location of the technology, as the information was provided to him, the Inspector General, and some was provided to the intelligence committees. David claims that the program is funded above congressional oversight, being bankrolled by a misappropriation of funds. When asked if that meant there was money being taken out of other programs, yes, I have specific knowledge of that. David was unable to release more information regarding the funding, as he said it was classified. He stated that even though he didn't have any first-hand experience with UAPs, he knows several colleagues who have encountered and even been injured by them. The entire hearing was extremely telling. A lot of crazy revelations came to light, but UAPs weren't the only thing the government was accused of possessing and hiding, and they definitely weren't the most interesting thing either, which brings us into our next point. Number 3, non-human biologics at a crash site. During the same hearing that David Grush dropped the news that the government had UAPs, he dropped another, even bigger extraterrestrial bomb on everyone. He claimed to be aware of colleagues who had recovered from non-human biologics derived from UAP crashes. However, when asked to provide evidence to substantiate his claims, Grush again stated that he was not able to provide any more information, as it was classified. But he did describe the unsettling nature of what he witnessed. I have to be very careful here. What I personally witnessed, myself and my wife, was very disturbing. Grush informed the panel that though he could not elaborate on everything in front of the public, he was able and willing to provide more information to select people in a sensitive compartmented information facility. He claims that his testimony was based on information given to him by trusted individuals, who all had a long-standing record of legitimacy. He said that the sources shared proof in photographs, documentation, and official oral testimonies. When asked if he had known of anyone who lost their lives due to inhuman materials, Grush responded, "I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities." Grush said that he'd suffered retaliation within the government for his decision to become a whistleblower, but he hoped that his coming forward would help with future transparency from the government to citizens. What inhuman biologics were seen and found are still a mystery, but many people have theorized as to what exactly Grush meant. He divulged that pilots who recovered from crashes had been affected by the inhuman biologic, which was the assessment that people with direct knowledge of the situation provided Grush. Many agencies and news outlets have since spoken out against David's claims, criticizing him for his outlandish lies, as they put it. I don't think what Grush is saying is accurate. While it's possible he's believing what he's saying, it's an incredible story that really needs some actual verification. So far, the best evidence Grush has come up with, besides his own word, is the government's denial. Even RO director Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick has spoken in opposition of David, stating that David has refused contact with the RO. Kirkpatrick even added on, saying that the hearing was insulting to the officers of the Department of Defense and intelligence community who chose to join RO, many with not unreasonable anxieties about the career risks this would entail. Grush has not responded to any of these criticisms. Here's my opinion on it. I'm just not sure why he would lie, and if he is lying, why? There must be something even deeper going on because, as we know, the government frequently covers up a huge scandal with many smaller ones. What do you think? Number 2, UFO in disguise. Now we're gonna go a little bit south, down to Mexico, where the shocking hearing revealed and presented jaw-dropping extraterrestrial information. A photo that first appears to be a close-up of a star, where the sun is claimed to be a UFO. The strange thing about this star, though, was it wasn't in space. It was in the sky, and it wasn't burning out the eyes of onlookers. It's described as a spherical object with 3 layers, seemingly made of light or energy. Many have commented that it looks as though there is a UFO in the center of the orb. A user commented, "A ring or layers may not be the craft itself, but an effect of the camera. I'm not saying it's not a UAP and all camera stuff. There is without a doubt a glowing UAP up there. Just saying the layered look appears to be the common effect that happens when taking photos of bright things in the sky from a distance." They further noted the similarities between this photo and the description that Charles Halt provided in regards to the Rendlesham incident. For those of you who are unaware of the Rendlesham Forest incident, I'll give you a quick summary of it. In December of 1980, a series of sightings, all claiming to have seen strange, unexplained lights, were reported. The lights were seen near a United States Air Force occupied base in England. Many personnel claimed to have seen these lights, including Colonel Charles Halt. Furthered the curiosity when he stated that he also saw UFOs among the lights. Some men drew diagrams and pictures to try to record what the lights looked like. Halt described that the lights were red, sun-like light. Sun-like light. Adding, "It's like the pupil of an eye looking at you, winking, and the flash is so bright to the starscope that, it almost burns your eye." Users have also released their own photos online of images similar to what had been released. There have been no official answers regarding what the Rendlesham incident was, or what the similar disguised UFO from the Mexico hearing was. Finally, number 1, non-human mummy. As always, I saved the best for last. During the same Mexico hearing, a researcher presented 2 unidentified inhuman beings to the world. Yes, Jamie Masson is a journalist and researcher on UAPs. Jamie entered the hearing with 2 boxes, each carrying what he claims are the small stuffed bodies of extraterrestrial beings. Jamie and a colleague ran extensive testing on both of the specimens. X-rays, 3D reconstructions, macro and microscopic analysis, DNA analysis, and just about every test you could possibly run on a creature. They found that the creatures were 100%, without a doubt, non-human. He describes the creatures, stating, "They are 60 centimeters long, covered by a white powder that, through electron microscopy, we identify as diatom powder, which allows the desiccation of the bodies as well as the absence of the generation of bacteria, fungi, and cadaveric fauna. The presence of this dust allows the perfect conservation by desiccation of these bodies, causing a natural conservation process over time, which we were able to calculate by applying the carbon-14 test, which indicated and dated an average of 1,000 years old." They claim to have recovered the creatures in Peru in 2017. They were able to identify that one of the creatures was 1,800 years old and the other was 700 years old. Each had only 3 fingers and 3 toes, a head, a neck, abdomen, and limbs. The bones were resistant, light but strong. Jamie compared them to the bones of a bird. The skull has the characteristics which further display how light yet resistant the bones are. The skull also has a lot of space for what they would figure would be a brain and eyes. The brain would be incredibly large and the eyes would have had an amazing field of vision. They were able to tell that the species consumed food through swallowing opposed to chewing. The bone formation in the neck is not found in primate species like humans, monkeys, or apes. They were able to find evidence of eggs, which prove that the species was biological and organic, as the replication would be impossible to falsify, according to Jamie. The creatures had strange fingerprints. Opposed to being a circular pattern like ours, theirs were completely straight and horizontally linear. The species also have metal implants that are attached below the skin near the surface. The implants are alloys of several metals, including osmium and cadmium, which are both used for satellite telecommunications. They compared the DNA with over 1 million different species and found that there's a significant difference between all of them. The studies that proved how different this species is were conducted in various countries. The results showed that 70% of the genetic material is known, but 30% isn't. This difference is absolutely insane. The difference between humans and primates is less than 5%, and the difference between humans and bacteria is less than 15%. 30% is huge. Jamie closed his presentation by saying, "I can affirm that these bodies are 100% real, organic, and biological, that at the time they had a life and are irrefutable evidence in themselves. We are facing the paradigm of describing a new species or the opportunity to accept that there has been contact with other non-human beings that were drawn and pointed out in the past, in various cultures throughout the world, such as Peru, Egypt, and Mexico, and that today we can accept their existence among and with us." Many have challenged Jamie's claims, stating that similar discoveries have been forged in the past. By him. They also added that they do not have any actual proof that any of the tests were ever carried out. But I don't know. It doesn't sound completely outlandish to me. I mean, humans do have a track record of wiping out humanoid species. I mean, just think of the Neanderthals. I wouldn't be surprised if humans just got jealous of the creature's superior intellect and decided, let's get rid of them.